Narcolepsy is defined by the Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke as a chronic neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to control sleep-wake cycles. More specifically, the difficulty regulating these sleep-wake cycles are caused by one chemical called hypocretin. The cause of this deficiency is interesting because scientists don't know exactly what it is. Some researchers believe that in certain individuals with narcolepsy, the body's immune system selectively attacks hypocretin-creating brain cells because of its combination of genetic and environmental factors. However, despite this research, no conclusion has yet to be concrete. Narcolepsy affects people around the world, estimating to affect 1 in 2,000 people in the general population. Regardless of this, the exact number of people affected by narcolepsy is not known concretely. The lack of knowledge about narcolepsy's general cause and the lack of knowledge about narcolepsy's effect on the population can both be chalked up to the same issue. Narcolepsy often goes under-recognized and misdiagnosed, so determining its specific frequency in the population and its specific cause amongst people becomes increasingly difficult when people with narcolepsy are not labeled as people with narcolepsy. But at this point, you may be wondering how narcolepsy actually affects someone, what the symptoms for a narcoleptic person may look like. There are 5 main symptoms that narcoleptics may experience throughout their life: cataplexy, hallucinations, excessive daytime sleepiness, sleep paralysis, and sleep disruptions. It is extremely rare for people with narcolepsy to experience all 5 symptoms throughout their life, but symptoms like excessive daytime sleepiness are required for the narcolepsy diagnosis. Cataplexy, our first symptom mentioned, is a bit of a controversial symptom among the narcoleptic community, meaning that it divides the 2 types of narcolepsy, narcolepsy type 1 with cataplexy, and narcolepsy type 2 without cataplexy. People with narcolepsy often do not experience cataplexy, and that distinction is important when diagnosing those individuals. But cataplexy itself is defined as a sudden loss of muscle tone that leads to loss of voluntary muscle movements, often triggered by strong emotions that a person may feel very suddenly. It has a wide range of severities. The muscle groups affected can be anything from your eyelids and your shoulders to your entire body. Episodes generally will only last a few minutes for each person, and the person will stay completely conscious throughout the entire thing. This distinction makes it different from things such as seizures and fainting spells, giving it the name cataplexy rather than the previous 2. Excessive daytime sleepiness, as I mentioned before, is a very important diagnosis criteria for narcolepsy. It has a long name, but essentially it means that you're just really excessively sleepy throughout the day. Anyone with narcolepsy will experience this symptom, the severity of which may be varying person to person.
I really couldn't stay awake no matter how hard I tried. I tried coffee. I tried drinking energy drinks for a really long time, but nothing helped until I finally got on my medication, which did start to see improvements in my life, really.
Sleep paralysis is described as the temporary inability to move your voluntary muscles. It is very common among many narcoleptics, but it is not exclusive to narcolepsy as a disorder. Overall, sleep paralysis can be described as a very disruptive and unpleasant situation for anybody who experiences it, making this diagnosis criteria easy to identify and associate with many sleep disorders, but narcolepsy specifically. Our last symptom, sleep disruptions, is also sometimes referred to as disrupted nighttime sleep. These disruptions appear in the form of awakening during the night and resulting in poor sleep quality. Narcolepsy at its core is a disorder related to the unstableness between staying awake or staying asleep when you want to stay awake or stay asleep. This instability is what causes many people to have a very sleepy day and a very wakeful and unrestful night.
Hello, my name is Danya Little, and I am the mother of Jordan Neal Little.
After assessing symptoms, patients are required to take 2 in-lab sleep tests. These tests are polysomnography, a PSG, or a multi-sleep latency test, or MSLT.
Well, they wanted to do a sleep study test, so we went in for a sleep study test where we went into their facility, had a nice room, bed, dark area, TV and things like that, bathroom and everything like that. So we stayed overnight, and because she was a minor, I had to stay with her, so there were 2 joining rooms to a bathroom. So we stayed there, and she got hooked up with all the electrodes and so many of them. I'm surprised she didn't take them off when she was asleep. But during the sleep, they monitored her sleep, her rest, going into the different zones and things like that. So that really helped to diagnose her narcolepsy.
After patients finish their overnight sleep and awake from their PSG test, some wiring is removed and patients can begin the multi-sleep latency test. During this test, a patient is asked to nap for about 20 minutes every 2 hours throughout the day, repeatedly and essentially on command. The process of acquiring a sleep study and an MSLT test can be arduous and costly to many people who are seeking to get diagnosed for narcolepsy.
Okay, well, as a parent trying to get a narcolepsy diagnosis, first took a lot. Calling around to doctors. First I talked to my insurance agency, kind of talked to a nurse there to kind of help guide me through the process. She told me that I would have to go to a doctor, a sleep doctor, and they would have to diagnose it. So I went to the sleep doctor, kind of talked with them. They told me the process, what it was.
The process of getting diagnosed with type 2 narcolepsy was extremely tedious and very long, at least for me personally.
Seeing it on film, okay, you're tired, okay, is that really a thing? Just get more sleep, just, eat more, make sure you have nutrients, make sure you're hydrated, maybe a little caffeine, you're thinking that'll solve everything. But not knowing it's a real medical diagnosis, not just someone who needs more rest or someone who's tired all the time, but understanding that, it's a real and serious thing, it's an imbalance that person has no control of.
Getting informed on and getting diagnosed with narcolepsy has significantly bettered my life in ways I can't even imagine. I wouldn't be able to drive, to stay awake, hanging out with my friends, to go to the movies after like 4 p.m., to even get the grades that I'm getting today had it not been for that initial information about the disorder and that lengthy process of getting diagnosed. The information about what narcolepsy is and how you can get tested for potential narcolepsy should be widely available and spread to more people around the world. It can affect anybody, and if it does affect somebody, their life will only be better if they know that they have narcolepsy.